Hello, you are listening to episode 29 of the Wellsy Weekly Podcast, the show where I talk about anything and everything. My name is John, aka Wellsy, and welcome back. It feels like I haven't done this for a while, and that's because I haven't. No, I've actually been on holiday, and the last few episodes, they were all pre-recorded, so I'm back. How you all doing? You doing good? I'm doing alright. Yeah, I feel like I had a well-earned rest over Christmas. You know, I got to see my family. You know, me mum, me dad, you know, up and down the country. Got to just chill out from uni and all that stress. And it was just really good fun to just get away and not have to worry about anything. But the holidays are over, so it's time to get back to business. And today, I want to talk to you about my thought process when creating music. You see, I do a music tech course, and some of the modules, they're quite technical. Some of them are quite creative. I'm kind of like in between, like creating music and being really techy and all that kind of stuff. I don't know much about either, to be honest, so I don't know how I've got this far, but we won't worry about that today. No, instead I want to take you through my thought process of when I have to create a piece of music. And don't get me wrong, I've got loads of ideas, but I don't know how to develop them very far. So I'll probably be talking about how to start an idea or how to generate ideas, but I can't personally talk about how to develop them further because I struggle with that as well. So the question for today is, what is your thought process when you're working on something? That can be anything. It could be creating a piece of music, it could be doing a piece of art, it could even be designing, I don't know, dresses or whatever. I know people do that. If you want to share your thoughts and opinions with me, let me know down below in the comments. So yeah, let's kick things off. Now, the first way I usually develop an idea, it could just pop into my head spontaneously. So do you know when you're walking down the street and you're doing your shopping, then suddenly, bam, you know, an idea's just come into your head and you think about it really hard, and then by the time you get home, you've completely forgotten it. It's happened to me a lot, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of other people as well. And a way to overcome that is just, one, try and record it on your phone if you can. If you're in a public situation, it may be a little weird, but that's fine. Or just have a little thought journal with you. I personally have a little booklet that says John's Brilliant Ideas, Insane Plans and Dodgy Doodles. Great title for a notebook. And I use it quite a lot, just to write down ideas and stuff that have just popped into my head, just so I can physically come back to it a little later on. And the idea could be anything as simple as just like a 4-to-the-floor beat, or a chord progression that's keeping you up at night. I know a lot of times I wake up and there's an idea in my head. I'm too lazy to get out of bed personally, because it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's keeping me up at night. But if you do get an idea in the middle of the night, I suggest you write it down, because I've had brilliant ideas before at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've written them down in my little notebook, and I've later created something that sounds really good, to be fair. God, that makes me sound like I'm tooting my own horn. I'm not, but you know, they were good ideas. Just saying. The next thing I try and do is I play guitar and I also play ukulele. So I'll just practice my soloing and that kind of stuff, and sometimes I'll just get a good sounding melody or something like that. I'm like, ooh, that sounds good, I'll just record it. I also do this on bass guitars as well when I get a chance. And I think that soloing is a good way to let your creation and your creative mind just flow a little bit, because you're just into the rhythm or the melody or whatever it is. You just, you know, you're feeling it, you know, it's hot, and then you're just like, my god, this actually sounds alright. And I definitely think if you play an instrument of some variety, I play guitar, I know a lot of people that play piano, drums people play a lot of. That sounded weird, but that's fine. Any instrument that you play that you can play relatively well, if you just start soloing and just messing about on it, eventually you're going to find something that sounds pretty good. And then you might want to be able to record it, or write it down in a Dodgy Doodles notebook. Who knows? But that's definitely another way to generate ideas, is just to like basically just have a jamming session. That's the general gist of this bit of advice. And finally, another way I just try and generate ideas is looking back at old stuff. Like, I've been creating music for ages, not very well, but I've still created ideas and generated ideas and recorded them, and I've saved them in places like on my laptop and stuff. And then I can come back to them and you're like, ooh, this sounds good, or because I've got more experience now, oh, I know how to improve that. So that's just another way to generate ideas. Maybe not so much generating ideas, or more like building on previous ideas, but that still works fine, you know, you can create something new from that. It doesn't have to sound exactly like the original. And one example of this is a cyberpunk track that I created years ago. I think the date on it said something like 2013, so I must have been about 13, 14. And I created this track on like some like free, I remember it very vaguely, some very free MIDI creating thing online that just didn't sound good, but it was good enough. And I saved it, I recorded it, I saved it, and it ended up on my laptop. And I found it a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, you know what, I'll try and recreate it. So that's exactly what I did. So to give you some context, first I'm going to play you the original cyberpunk track that I created, and then afterwards I'll show you what I've created recently. So this is the old cyberpunk track. Now, as you can tell from that track, it's kind of a little bit repetitive in places, but what I did like about it was the arpeggio, that electronic fuzzing sound. So I wanted to recreate that. And then I also liked like the big, heavy toms fills at the end, just like the do-do-do-do-do-do part. So that's what I did in this next track. I also added a bunch of just like extra effects, you know, tried to make it bigger and better, you know. And hopefully you can see how like working on an old project and revamping it can create new ideas. But I'll let you listen to this next one and I'll tell you a bit more. Now, I don't know if you could tell from that track, but it's a bit more mellow, a bit more chilled out, and that's kind of what I wanted. I got the idea of the arpeggio, you know, I had that in, but then I layered it, so I had multiple arpeggios with different sound effects, just playing the same arpeggio, the same notes essentially, and then just built that up. And I just wanted to add more and more layers into it. It's not as big and energetic, but, you know, that's fine. We were just creating a new idea from an old track, and that's what I wanted to get across. You can look at old stuff, don't have to copy it exactly, you can just take ideas from it and then just make something new, like this track here. And before I go, I just want to show you another example of just like how to create or generate ideas and what it can spark essentially. So this next track, it was kind of like an indie summer hit. I've got a vibe in my head. And I just started playing on my guitar, just a single riff that you hear at the start. And then it just develops further on into something, again, a little bit repetitive, but I haven't finished it yet. Let me know what you think. And all of that track, from the maracas to the ukulele to the slaps on the body of the guitar, all came from that single riff at the start. So just messing about on an instrument basically, which is what I said earlier. So yeah, they're just a few of the ways that I start to create or generate ideas for a music project. I'll remind you that today's question was, what is your thought process when creating stuff? Whether that's music, whether it's dance, art, anything else that I've missed off, let me know down below in the comments. So yeah, I quite enjoyed today's episode, I hope you did too. Thank you for listening, welcome to 2019 ladies and gents, and as always, enjoy a cuppa.